Okay, let's now give you a rapid fire round of FAQs on that 2000 rupee note. Who better than Siddharth Zarabi, managing editor at Business Today, to answer those rapid fire questions. Question number one, Siddharth. Where can these 2000 rupee notes be exchanged and deposited?
They can be exchanged at banks. They can be deposited in accounts, and a sort of exchange is already taking place at jewelry shops, at Zomato, at even real estate companies.
Is there a limit, though, to the number of notes that can be exchanged, Siddharth?
Official channels at the bank, we all know it is 20,000 at a time for exchange. For deposits, there is no limit. But like I said, none of these limits are applying in the non-official or the grey zone in which many of these transactions have been happening even before the first day of withdrawal 2.0 of 2000 rupee notes.
Before I come to my next question, just a clarification on what you first said. What if a shopkeeper or someone refuses to take the 2000 rupee note? Because a number of people are complaining about that, saying they are going to places where the 2000 rupee note is not being accepted by shopkeepers. Do I just have to live with that?
There should be no reason. As long as the transaction is billed for, the shopkeeper doesn't have anything to worry about, and the customer who is paying does not owe any explanations to the shopkeeper. He owes those explanations, if at all, to the taxman.
Can non-account holders also exchange the notes at banks?
Well, as far as that bit is concerned, some banks are allowing this, some banks are not allowing this. Those who are allowing this in the private space are asking for some sort of ID and also getting some details of the customers down, because they fear that subsequently they may have to answer questions. In the public sector banking space, the State Bank of India had announced on Sunday basically what is a no questions, no form, no ID system of exchanging currency notes.
You said State Bank of India and you referred to it specifically, saying that they do not need any ID or form proof. But I know a friend of mine this morning went to two banks where he has accounts and they asked for ID proof when he was exchanging the notes. So is this a standard practice across banks or not?
Rajdeep, a standard practice has not been in fact implemented. If you look at what the RBI has said so far, and State Bank of India as India's largest bank in terms of its spread, it's clear that there is some bank level implementation, interpretation that is happening, and that seems to be the gap. It is, we must acknowledge, the first day, and there is some sort of pushback in some ways from North Block as well, which is stepping up its efforts to ensure some of these niggles get sorted out. Officials are in fact on constant calls to ensure that there is no major disturbance that is caused.
No, so what you're saying is that eventually no forms will be required to be filled in the next few months when I exchange notes. As of today, some banks are asking for forms, some are not. Am I correct?
Can't be predicted. If you recall, 2016, there were 10 forms a day. Thankfully, this process seems to be more sorted. So it's impossible to sort of speculate as to what the next clarification would be. Let me just say that the public sector banking space is treating this slightly differently from the private sector banking space. And in the private sector banking space, they have a sort of a very different approach to KYC and compliances with different laws. And I think they are being stricter about it. But when it comes to mass banks like the State Bank of India, I think they are letting it be easier for their customers, or even those who are not their customers but want to exchange currency.
What is the deadline for the exchange transfer? Is it still September 30th?
That hasn't changed, and remember the big number, 3.62 lakh crore, 20,000 at a time. That at a time being interpreted differently. Delhi-based sources saying at a time means that you can queue up again and again on the same day. Certain banks saying no, 20,000 is per day. So we really don't know the total sort of time that will be taken. It's very difficult to even arrive at some number, Rajdeep. You will understand that it will mean millions of transactions all across the country. So as of now, I think most people expect the entire sum of money to come in. And remember, it doesn't mean that on 30th September shutters are down. Pink will continue to be the new black post 30th September as well, Rajdeep.
So just before I come to my next question, just clarity on that. If I have 1 lakh rupees in cash in 2,000 rupee notes, can I go on a single day and do 5 transactions at the bank to exchange or deposit?
Depends on how good relations you have with your branch manager. Rajdeep, for you, a famous personality, I think that that concession may be granted. I don't know about others. It will be, like I said, branch to branch, bank to bank.
You know, very interesting, because I don't have a 2,000 rupee note, so I don't really have to worry about that. But those who have to worry. What happens post September 30th, Siddharth? Do we know what will happen on October 1?
That's a good point. And remember what happened, and there were sort of even diplomatic implications of the 2016 note ban, where after a certain date, that entire currency that had not been changed, deposited, got extinguished. Remember, Nepal, Bhutan, there were other countries also where some Indian currency keeps floating around. There were issues with that. The second bit is non-resident Indians who may have gone out for 6 months, and they would miss this. So that's why this time the note does not stand extinguished on the 30th of September. Post 30th of September, as of now, what we have understood is that those currency notes can be exchanged at designated RBI offices. Now that could change, but as of now, that is the situation that we can say.
One final question. Was this all really necessary? There are those who are asking, was this really necessary, this whole 2,000 rupee note? This is, of course, more your opinion. Do you believe that the RBI had no choice? Could this have been done in some other way? Do you believe at the end of the day this pink note controversy could have been avoided entirely?
Frankly, I put that question to Dr. Sujit Bhalla.
Just stop printing it. It's already stopped printing. Yes.
Well, that's right, Rajdeep. I put that question today itself earlier to Dr. Sujit Bhalla, former ED of IMF and a former member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. That answer is available here. But to answer your question, to the best of my ability, a certain amount of currency had been printed to increase the total volume of currency available in the system after note bandi. 50% of that had been withdrawn gradually over the last 5-6 years. You could conceivably argue that the remaining 3.62 lakh crore which are outstanding in the system could have been allowed to come back into the system over 3-4 years. The government and the RBI have clearly chosen to do that in 4 months instead of 4 years. We can speculate about the reasons, but this is reality. It is note badli and not note bandi. And one final quick point, you will see a lot of liquidity coming into the banking system, and that will have macroeconomic positive implications, what economists are saying, and that's what Dr. Bhalla also told me earlier today, Rajdeep.
Right. Okay. Interesting, Siddharth Zarabi. You've clarified some of the doubts for our viewers, and thank you very much for doing that. And if you have a 2,000 rupee note and you have any more questions, just ask Siddharth Zarabi. That's what I do. Thanks very much for joining me, Siddharth.